Hey guys, the next story we're going to do will be on Scholastic. So you can go check out scholastic.com/scope to follow along with the story. It's called The Great Stink, is in April 2020 episode or magazine, sorry. And I will post the password, but if you need it, it is Hope Green 10, all one word. All right, so I'm going to read it. Follow along on your Chromebooks. The Great Stink. In 1858, London was caught in the grip of a horrifying health crisis. Its largest river was overflowing with poop. Let's journey to the city of London, England. In the summer of 1858, horse-drawn carriages clip-clop through the streets. Ladies wearing giant tent-like skirts glide past shop windows. Kids stand on street corners selling newspapers and cigars and fried fish. But you don't notice any of that. All you can think about is the overpowering, stomach-turning, eye-watering smell of poop. As you will soon discover, the entire city is caught in the grip of a stinky crisis. For years, Londoners have been dumping human waste into the Thames, the great river that rushes through the city. Now London is suffering the hottest summer in recent history. The steaming heat is cooking the filthy river into a bubbling, foul-smelling stew. Newspapers are calling the crisis the Great Stink. The problem isn't merely gross, it's also deadly. Over the past 50 years, tens of thousands of people have died from drinking the polluted water of the River Thames. Can the Great Stink force the city to clean up the Thames before thousands more are sickened? The poop problem. For as long as humans have walked the earth, figuring out what to do with human waste has been one of the greatest challenges in ancient South Asian cities. Clay pipes and brick channels carried waste away from their homes. An intricate web of stone sewers lay underneath the ancient city of Rome to take waste out of the city. In China, some 1,000 years ago, sewage was pumped through dome-shaped tunnels. Until the early 1800s, London's system for dealing with waste was fairly simple. Most homes had a bathroom. People did their business on a wooden box with a hole that sat above an underground pit called a cesspool. These cesspools were usually 6 feet deep and 4 feet wide. When they were full, a night soil man would shovel out the waste and sell it to the farmers to use as fertilizer. Poop was known as night soil because it was carted away in the middle of the night when the powerful odor wouldn't disturb the people. But in the late 19th century, London and all of England was changing. Thousands were leaving their farms to work on factories in cities. Between 1800 and 1850, London's population more than doubled. By the middle of the century, London was the biggest city in the world, with 2 million people. Soon, there was too much night soil to collect and not enough farmers to buy it. More and more people were forced to empty their cesspools into the city's creaky old sewers. The sewers, however, were never designed for human waste. They were built to drain rainwater into the Thames to prevent flooding. To make matters worse, a dazzling new invention was becoming increasingly popular. The flush toilet. Waste would now be magically washed away from the pool of a chain. Just because toilets used a lot of water, they caused the cesspools to overflow. To avoid a goopy mess, people began connecting their toilets directly to the sewers, and therefore to the rivers. Overloaded with human waste, the Thames grew thick, brown, and foul. Over time, the smell became a stench, and the stench became a reek, and then, in scorching summer of 1858, it became a crisis, a whiff on the wind. Londoners back then were no strangers to filth. Soot from factories blackened the air. Mountains of dung from thousands of horses choked the streets. Families crammed into tiny apartments, thick with the smell of sweat, and everywhere was garbage, broken dishes, rotting food, and animal bones. Still, the Great Stink of 1858 was an odor more putrid than the city had ever experienced. Londoners fainted in the streets. People miles away threw up after catching a whiff on the wind. Government leaders who worked in a building beside the Thames were seen fleeing with tears streaming from their eyes. Londoners weren't just disgusted by the stink. They were terrified. At the time, it was widely believed that disease spread through miasma, dirty, smelly air, and the most feared disease of all, cholera, a violent stomach sickness that could kill a person within 24 hours. London had already suffered 3 major cholera epidemics. More than 30,000 people had died. Londoners worried that the Great Stink would unleash a new wave of death across the city. What few people in 1858 understood was that it wasn't the smell of the river that was deadly, it was the water. Poop was crawling with germs that can cause dozens of diseases, including cholera. The poop-filled Thames was London's main source of drinking water. People had essentially been gulping down poison. Something had to be done. Even if government leaders didn't understand exactly why the Great Stink was dangerous, they knew something had to be done, fast. With handkerchiefs pressed to their noses, they quickly passed a law mandating the construction of a new sewer system. The sewer would run underground alongside the river rather than into it, carrying waste out of the city and away from where people lived. In later years, treatment plants were added to clean the waste, making it safe to release into the environment. It took thousands of workers, 318 million bricks, 3.5 million pounds of concrete, and what would be $6 billion in today's money to construct the London's new sewer system. The sewer system officially opened in 1865, and soon the Thames was poop-free. In 1866, one final cholera epidemic struck London, but it was limited to a neighborhood that had not yet been connected to the new sewer system. This helped people begin to realize that polluted water, not miasma, was the source of cholera and other diseases. By the 1870s, cholera had vanished from the city. A new crisis. London's new sewer system inspired similar projects in cities around the world, including the U.S. cities like New York. Many parts of these systems are still being used today. More than a century later, over the years, however, these antique sewers have started to fall apart since the 1800s. Many city populations have continued to multiply. Climate change is triggering heavier storms that overload pipes with rainwater. Under these pressures, the original sewers, once a dazzling modern wonder, have begun to leak, break, clog, and overflow. In some places, waste has been oozing into the drinking water system. Many experts say we may be approaching a new sewage crisis. If we don't take action, we could soon be holding our noses to the Great Stink Part 2. In this picture, it says the sewer monsters. This hunk of yuck is called a fatberg. Fatbergs are a problem in cities with older sewer systems. When cooking oil and grease are poured down the drain, they end up in sewers, where they harden into fat. These sticky blobs trap all kinds of stuff: baby wipes, cotton balls, food scraps, stuff that should be recycled or placed in the trash, not flushed. If a fatberg gets big enough, it clogs pipes and causes sewages to overflow. And then if we go to toilets of the future, there's a self-powering toilet. It says your toilet might one day charge your phone. The nanomembrane toilet gets rid of waste by burning it. When you close the lid, the waste drops into a pan. From there, liquid waste, aka urine, is filtered into the clean water that can be used for watering plants, but not for drinking. Any solid waste, aka poop, is burned into ash. The best part, the whole process generates through electricity to power the toilet as well as other small devices like your phone. Then there's a worm toilet. The tiger toilet breaks down waste with worms. Beneath the toilet and out of the view of users live a colony of tiger worms. These critters eat organic waste, including feces. As the worms digest waste, harmful bacteria is removed. In the end, all that's left is a mix of water, carbon dioxide, and some harmless worm poo that can be used as fertilizer. And the composting toilet. Another new toilet turns waste into the fertilizer using heat. Here's how it works. Human waste is kept in a chamber attached to the toilet. The temperature inside the chamber is very high. This high heat, along with the oxygen, spurs the growth of bacteria that naturally breaks down waste over time. Eventually, what's left can be used as fertilizer in gardens and backyards. Down waste over time. Backyards. But be careful, not all composting toilets produce fertilizer that is safe to use for growing food. So which one of these three toilets of the future, the self-powering toilet, the worm toilet, or the composting toilet, which one would you want? Email me your answer when you're finished listening to the story. Talk to you guys later. Enjoy the warm day today. Bye.